that'd be whatever. But hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Intentional Iron Podcast. This will be episode 8, and today I'm joined by Coach Austin Stout, founder of Integrated Muscle and Health. Brother, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I know that you're I think one of the more knowledgeable coaches in the space, whether it be for bodybuilding or fitness or health and stuff like that. And that's the main reason I want to get you on today is because a lot of the coaches and a lot of the guys that are, doing either bodybuilding coaching, like functional health like yourself, it's very skeptical nowadays. And I think you're one of the guys that's been around a while. You know your shit, and you've known your shit for a long time. You know what I mean? So if you want to, bro, give us a little bit of a look into your past, like a background, kind of your upbringing into the health and fitness space, and just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I would say my original introduction's probably not anything too out of the ordinary. I was a wrestler, so that kind of got me into weight training. So like a lot of people have that, athletic background. I wasn't very athletic. So of course,
Yeah.
being strong kind of helped me bridge that gap from lack of athleticism.
Yeah, I got you.
And with it being a weight controlled sport, obviously having to make weight classes, all that stuff, it was really a situation where doing all the other stuff that everyone else didn't eat well, cutting weight, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, well, man, there's got to be a better way to do this and not feel so terrible and lack energy. And most of the nutrition information that I was able to find was like bodybuilding publications and things like that. And I thought, well, these guys know something clearly, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
in
right.
hindsight, you got to think that was like over 20 years ago, give or take. And so maybe the information was kind of rudimentary, but um, I became interested in that, started weight training. And again, training like a bodybuilder for a sport, again, probably not the best thing, but it was a lot
Yeah,
better than
right.
nothing, right?
Right, yeah.
It was a lot better than nothing. And I didn't know at the time. Like I didn't understand like, okay, well, there's sports specific stuff that we could be doing. I just knew, man, I'm getting stronger and I'm winning more
Yeah.
because of
Yeah, I
being
got you.
stronger.
Yeah.
So I continued to do that after that, I went to college. I was in health sciences. So I was debating between like maybe physical therapy background, or, something like that. But I was started bodybuilding. I was competitive, especially as a teenager. I started competing at 18 years old. So I've been doing it for a long time.
Right.
And I really wasn't interested in those health sciences. So luckily, a lot of the prerequisites that I took were transferable to more of a nutrition degree. So I was able to kind of take that and finish my college degree in nutrition. Now, I was already coaching at the time. I was doing, I had a part-time job doing some PT work in the gym. Plus I was working with online clients. Now this was like way back
Mm-hmm.
right around Instagram infancy, even pre-Instagram, like forums and stuff like that. So you got to think coaching was not a career for hardly anybody. There was very, very few people that had no full-time job and they were just coaching bodybuilders.
Mm-hmm.
So I came in early and I mean, that's kind of the early stages, and the functional health thing came in a lot of my own issues, that I was dealing with,
Right.
digestion, hormones, stuff like that. And I did a lot of research on my own to help understand my own problems. And what I realized is, wow, a lot of people I'm working with have the same issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was really the classic, like, well, I take calories off of Jack's plan, I take calories off Bob's plan, but we have different reactions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well,
Yeah, that makes
why are
sense.
these things happening? Like, why are these guys having difficulties in the off season eating enough food? Like, why are we running into all these snags? Like, why does your sleep suck? Like, it's like all these
Mm-hmm.
things that we kind of know now are super, super important for our results. But
Right.
then it really wasn't. Yes, we knew you needed to sleep. We knew we needed to recover, but we didn't really understand the mechanisms, right?
Right.
And
Correct.
we didn't really have we didn't really have a lot of applicable information. Nobody was doing blood work, hardly doing blood work back, pre
Yeah.
2010. Like no, and
Right.
certainly no one was like doing GI maps and anything like that. Like definitely not.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I just learned a lot of that stuff because of my own issues, and it really carried over into the clientele. And honestly, where I'm at now, so much of it happened organically just because I just kept digging and pushing the envelope a little bit more and digging. And you know what? There were plenty of instances where I received scrutiny, plenty of instances where people are like, this is stupid. It doesn't matter. Nobody gives a
Yeah.
shit. Just eat and
Yeah.
train,
Just
you
yeah.
know?
People. Yeah, for sure.
And now, I mean, now the funny thing is so many of the things that are coming into the space now, I was talking about 5 years ago, 8 years
You've
ago.
been doing,
Dude,
yeah,
I
yeah, for
see
sure.
so many things. I'm like, dude, bro, I've been doing this for a decade. You
Yeah,
know, and everyone's like,
yeah,
wow,
man.
this is so cool. I'm like, dude, that's what
Yeah,
I've been saying.
I've been trying to tell y'all this for 10
I've been
years.
trying
Yeah,
to
for
tell
sure.
you.
Yeah, seriously.
But
But yes, yeah,
realistically, I just didn't have a voice, you know, like not a lot of
yeah,
people knew who I was. I didn't have a big following. I didn't really, so there wasn't really a way for me to convince the masses of that.
yeah. It just had to like naturally happen for them to like apply those things, and then for it to apply those things, and then they were like, oh, this actually works or whatever. But like that's one thing a lot of guys, like you said, you don't have like a big following or whatever. I think that's what a lot of coaches mess up on now is they'll go for the following, they'll go for the likes and shit, when it's like if you would just produce results for people like I know that you have for thousands of people at this point, it's like all these things that you've been preaching for so long will come to the forefront eventually because you
Mm.
gotten all these results for people, and it's like you were chasing the right thing, which was wanting to change people's lives, their gut health, their off seasons, their bodybuilding career, or whatever that may be. And it's like when you chase that shit, that's a lot better. So when it comes to the knowledge that you've gotten or that you've obtained for gut health, bodybuilding health, the whole aura or whatever, did a lot of that come from your college? Was most of it your own research, or did you have like some mentors along the way that kind of guided you to what you know now?
Yeah, so I get asked that question a lot because
Yeah.
I educate a lot of people. That's a part of
Right.
my business, right? Is
Yes.
education. And they want to know like, well, how do you know the stuff that you teach us? That's a hard question to answer because it definitely came from a lot of sources, right? Consider there wasn't really this is maybe not entirely true. I don't know if there was any mentors that you could just like
Mhm.
pay and
Mhm.
you know, expedite your knowledge. Maybe that existed back then. I'm not really sure. But so I pulled from a lot of different sources, research, some, and, practical application, trial and error, a lot of trial and error within reason. Like I'm not trying to hurt anyone, but trial and error on myself too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Repetition, reading labs, reading labs, reading labs. I have a really good doctor who I would consider if I were to say I had a mentor, that would be somebody that I pulled ideas from and had
Mhm.
inspirations from. A lot of people probably know like Dr. Eric Serrano. He's
Mhm.
worked on a lot of with a lot of very notable people. So Eric, little books here and there, a little bit from school here and there.
Mhm.
But I think the thing about this is once you have a really good baseline of knowledge, is there more to learn? There's always more to learn, but application is really the skill set that most people take the longest time to develop because
Mhm.
application requires a lot of things. It requires outside of just like know-how, it requires actual skills to work with human beings who have a lot of problems and
Yeah.
who
Right.
have like stress and all this stuff. Because I think a lot of people want to learn these skills, but they don't actually understand or don't want to take the time to understand how to coach people. Humans are complex. Like if you actually broke down, well, why does this have at the test? I can be like, well, they have bacteria. I can tell you all the stuff that's on it. I can do it in like 30 seconds. But the thing I can't tell you in 30 seconds is I can't tell you what got them to that point and what like psychological bottlenecks we have and
Mhm.
other issues. It can be so deeply rooted. And let's just be honest, if we're applying that to bodybuilders, we're all weird and
Yeah.
probably like a little bit neurotic and crazy because who else wants to do who else is
Yeah.
going to do that? It's not health
Right.
and fitness. It's not like just going to the gym and being healthy and eating mostly unprocessed foods. Like this is extreme.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I think what a lot of people miss is like they really want to understand like the nuts and bolts of whether it be like digestion, whether it be whatever, but they don't know how to like you said, apply that to a client, understand their psychology, because that's what I've come to realize with clients. It's like you can give them the greatest plan, the greatest thing for their digestion, their sleep, their whatever, but if you don't understand the psychology of that person, what they go through during the day, how they think, are they, gonna adhere to this well or not? You can give them the perfect plan, but if you don't understand that person at a human level, which I think that a lot of people are missing from nowadays, it's not going to work. You have to have that human
100%.
understanding. That's why I think that so many people would benefit from a coach, and like a good coach like yourself is like when you have someone that like can understand you on a personal level and get your psychology, like I said, and they have the information and they're smart. That's when like magic happens. And I know that that's something that you post about a lot is, or post about on your page that I see that I really like is more like spiritual. Maybe not spiritual, but like psychological posting about like mentality and shit like that. And that's what I really like about you. Like you're a fucking genius as it is, but it's like you actually pay respect to like that aspect of life and how that can help you in your health and fitness and in bodybuilding. So like what why do you think that people overlook that so much? Do you think it's because they think it's like corny? Do you think it's just, or why do you think it's so overlooked? Because that's the aspect that I see that I try and push through my content is like if you can like this book like Inner Excellence or whatever. Like
Yeah.
this like the little tips you can get from a book like this, if you can apply that to other things, is so viable. Sorry for
Yeah.
rambling for a second, but
No,
why do
no,
you
no.
think that so many
That's a good
people
thought.
skip over the spiritual part, or whatever you want to call it, of their health?
Yeah, the my content, I've changed the way I post a little bit. So I still post like strictly informational stuff about, a host of different topics, whether it be hypertrophy, digestion, hormones, whatever. But if anyone's followed me a while, the ratio of that to psychological stuff is a lot different now. So now
Yeah,
it's like 4 to 1. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like I do post that stuff. I know it. I can talk about it. But to your point, the reason that I've been posting those types of like fear and ideas and stuff more is because I just think that's what we're missing at its
mm-hmm.
core. I
Yeah,
think that, and the reason, I think there's a lot of reasons for it. Now, if I were to give a few that probably encompass a lot of people, one is that generally people lack self-awareness. First off, like you're never going to get anything done if you don't understand that there's anything wrong, right?
yeah, that's a good point.
Or if what you think is wrong is actually not what's wrong. So if like in our space, for example, everyone's chasing a solution, right? Like they're like, I want to get bigger. It's got to be, there's a drug that I'm not taking, right? Or like, I want to get
Yeah,
bigger. There's got to be like a training thing. And maybe that's the answer. Or, my digestion's off or my whatever, this and that. So they're trying to find a thing, right? It's like they think it's going to be something super specific.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time it's just not. It's more abstract than that. It's bigger than that. It's like a overarching personality issue or like their life as a whole. And so getting people to understand that requires them to accept, and this is me included. Like I've come through these like revelations myself on multiple occasions, and I'm sure I will. I'm not that old, so I'm sure it'll happen more times. But
Yeah,
of like, okay, so these problems are because of these things that I do.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And so now that's the first step. So I have to realize it and then I have to accept it and then I have to take action, which is even harder because taking action it's scary. It requires you to change something that you're used to. Bodybuilders are like the absolute last person that want to change something they're used to
yeah,
because they
that's a
like to
good
do the
point.
exact same thing all the time.
Yeah,
Again, myself included. So it's really difficult. They don't want to change anything. They want to do exactly the same stuff. So whatever we have to do is going to scare them. And that could be a super basic level. So like if they're like, I like to be uncomfortable because I train hard. I said, no, if I told you not to train tomorrow, that would make you way more uncomfortable. They're like,
mm-hmm.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good. Yeah,
Right.
that's a good
I'm like,
point.
that doesn't actually make you uncomfortable. You thrive in that. You don't,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really know. It doesn't scare you. So I think there's acceptance, take action, so on and so forth. Now, yeah, these things can go way deeper than that. You can definitely get into like much deeper trauma and things that are deeply rooted. Again, why do people do extreme stuff? Why do people have body dysmorphia and eating disorders and like all this stuff? But is bodybuilding the reason? It was a catalyst, but what attracted them to that in the first place? That's the
Mm-hmm.
question we have to answer. Like, well, why are you here? What are your intentions? Like, what drew you to bodybuilding in the first place? That tells a whole lot about a person. Because when I started bodybuilding, it was because it kind of quenched my need for drive, right? And
Yeah,
purpose and a challenge. But I also didn't really do it for vanity because we didn't really advertise ourselves like on social media and stuff in the same way. It wasn't. And also, I wasn't that good at it, especially at the beginning. For like,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But man, there's a lot of reasons that people don't want to face the problems, and it's really difficult. I get it.
It is. Yeah,
I
I
don't
understand.
I don't knock anyone. Like, I understand it's hard.
Yeah, I think especially with the psychology of people, it's just they get so fixed in their own ways, and I follow the same. I fall in the same thing. It's like, it's just human nature. If you're used to something and you're comfortable with being this way, you just become comfortable. You don't want to change, and just like accepting that and like making the steps to change that you've done, or making the steps to change a way you've been your whole life, and maybe that's something that like, drew you to bodybuilding or whatever. That
Hard.
shit's hard, like personally for me, like I was a fat kid. I had like eating problems, and that's like something that has came about in my bodybuilding journey or whatever. And it's like having to rewire your brain to work on all that. That's just not easy. And it could also be like, what else? What's another psychological aspect that people always fall into with bodybuilding? Like, I don't know, being super introverted and just like never talking to anybody. Like it doesn't have to be like that. And maybe like there have been things like you said that have led up to that. It's like bodybuilding didn't make you like this. Maybe you had some kind of XYZ thing happen in your upbringing, and that's why bodybuilding was so attractive to you, is because you all have to talk to fucking anyone. I can just do this one little thing and yada yada yada. But it's like and you're gonna look back in 20 years and regret so many things that you missed because of one little thing you never decided to fix or whatever.
Yeah. And they might, you're right. And they may never develop those skills. And frankly, if you never want to change, no one can force you to, and that's okay. But if you're not happy with where you're at, that's also on you,
Yeah,
right?
that's a good point. That's a great
The thing
point.
is, like, if you don't want to change, and that's even conversations I've had with people, I don't force anyone to do anything. I'm empathetic. I'm compassionate. I encourage them because I don't want to, I know that they don't really like where they're at. So I'm like,
Right.
I don't want you to be here. I want you to do better. But if you want to stay the same, you can. You can do that. That's totally up to you. You actually could probably still live a good, quote unquote, pretty good life. But if you want to go to the next level and correct whatever it is that's ailing you,
Mm-hmm.
you have to change. You know,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it takes what it takes, whatever that is. That was a
Yeah.
quote from I think it was Nick Saban, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
It's
you're
like it
right. It
takes
takes
what
what
it
it takes.
takes.
Yeah, it takes
I'm
what it
like,
takes. Yeah.
that's what
Yeah. You've gotta. It's like you said. It's hard telling people that too, because it's like, or just if they just won't do the actions to change. It's like you can just stay here and, like you said, live probably a pretty healthy life. But it's like you said, if you're coming to me and you want to become this thing you're saying you want to become, you have to change. Like that's the end of the line. And it's like it's hard telling them like it's okay for you to stay here because you want them, because I mean that's the whole reason when you coach, I'm sure, is you want to help people. You want to see them change, develop their physique, get healthy or whatever. And it's like whenever you just see them not making the actions, it can kind of suck. But you talked about there for a second getting into bodybuilding. When you got into bodybuilding or whatever, did you have any like competitive goals, like you wanted to be a pro or win this show? Did you have any goals like that, or was it just like this kind of coincided with wrestling at
zero.
zero? Yeah, that's
Honestly,
what
honestly, I had zero goals. And it's interesting because if I started now, maybe that would be different because there's more influences and the people and people's aspirations are different. Maybe that's social media or like glorification of how fast you can get good, or like everyone's a pro on social media or whatever. Like, bro, this is
no,
really hard.
seriously. Yeah.
It's super difficult. I guess I wanted to win and do the best I could. That's always been a goal, but I wasn't delusional. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like, man, I saw it. It wasn't as if I went to a show and saw these pro bodybuilders and I thought that I'm going to get there in 5 years or 10
Mm-hmm.
years. Honestly, and not to sound like I had a lot of doubt necessarily, but I had no idea. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew is that I could do it. I knew that I could work really hard and I could be consistent with it. It
Mm-hmm.
probably wasn't even until, to be completely honest, it probably wasn't even until I was about 12 or so years into bodybuilding that I thought there was even a chance that I could maybe get that status. It was a long time. I won, and again, not to like sound like I had a lot of doubt. That's not necessarily the case. I mean, I had
Mm-hmm.
won overall in NPC shows 4 times, 5 times before I even did a national show.
Dang.
Like open men overall, the whole damn show, like
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 of those before I even thought I was ready to compete at nationals.
Yeah, I
And
hear
then I
that a
got,
lot nowadays.
yeah, yeah. And I got seventh. I got seventh as a light heavyweight at my first crack, which is a hard class, open light heavyweight, pretty saturated, 30, 40 guys, whatever. But dude, man, that took a long, that took a long time to even think. And I didn't win. That's the thing is I didn't turn pro.
Yeah,
I just,
yeah.
I just thought, okay, I'm actually good enough now to not get my ass totally handed to me if I go. And so I'll go.
Yeah, that seems what like a lot of people kind of miss is that they have to realize like there's like this ladder they have to climb. Like not everyone is the, like Anton that is at the Olympia and he's like 22. It's like 99% of you are not going to be that, and you have to realize that there's
9% of
yeah,
people are
like
not
there's
that.
this ladder you have to climb. Like you have to set these little goals like when the bodybuilding. I think too many guys I see are like, yeah, I'm starting my pro card journey today. It's like pro card, road to pro on YouTube, and it's like that's awesome. That can be like your big overarching goal you want to get to one
Sure.
day, but you got to break this shit down into like, okay, I want to get to stage first. Like there's even some guys that will make these videos like you haven't even gotten on stage yet. Like that doesn't make sense to me. So you
Yeah.
need to like let's get to stage. That's like check mark one. Yeah, then okay, let's win our class or let's get top 3 in our class. Okay, cool. And then you have to win this show, like a national qualifying show. Like focus on those little things first, and then focus on like the pro card or whatever. But
Yeah.
do
It's,
you plan on
it's
getting back on
crazy.
stage anytime soon?
Yeah. I will probably do, Masters Nationals next year.
Okay, okay.
I think that's the tentative plan right now. That's probably the
Yeah,
tentative plan.
I've been seeing
So
some of your updates. You look really good.
yeah, I'm hoping with the old guys, we can do some damage. Really, really where I'm at is I'm kind of in a weird in between. I have a very, very hard time making light heavyweight, and it kind of got to the point where it diminished my physique a little bit,
Mm,
and I could do it and I can fill out still, but not, I would look better up a weight class, but that's also a 27 pound or
okay.
26 pound. When you get up into those higher weight classes, the weight cap on heavyweight's like 26 pounds above light heavy, which you don't have to be at the weight cap to look good. If you look good, you look good. Doesn't matter what you weigh.
Yeah,
But that's a huge muscle discrepancy
yeah. Jumping
going.
from class to class. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yes. So I have to take enough time in between. And at this point in my career, I'm not gaining muscle at like a super rapid rate. I've been doing it a long time. So
Hmm.
it's not like I'm gaining like 10, 15 pounds a year in muscle or anything.
Yeah, gaining that much, that far, that deep in your career definitely
It's hard.
is not it's not the easiest. I could definitely see. But getting into a little bit more gut health because that's kind of that's like what you're very known for nowadays, and I think that's something that with like people my age and a little bit younger at some points in social media has been like overhyped, and then at some points it's been like not thought about at all. So like what are some like low hanging fruits that some guys can take away from this that you think they could do today or tomorrow and immediately see some kind of return if they were doing nothing for their like gut health and digestion and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so for bodybuilders specifically, there's probably a couple things. And if anyone's listened to me, they've maybe heard some of these things before. But number one, and again, this is one that I've talked about a lot, is for bodybuilders is dietary variety because they eat the same 4 foods for 10 years. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
basically, in a nutshell, we have a very diverse microbiome. So there's billions and trillions of different types of bacteria. They require different food sources to populate themselves and stay in balance. And dysbiotic bacteria, or the bad stuff, it can feed very, very easily. So it's not very picky. It's kind of like the analogy that I'll use, or the imagery I'll use is a good bacteria are like a toddler in a high chair. They're very picky. They're going to throw it on the floor if they don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Bad bacteria are raccoons in your dumpster. They don't give a shit. They're going to eat everything. So essentially, pathogenic bacteria can grow very, very easily, and it's not very selective of food source. There's even a lot of people think it's just carbohydrates and FODMAPs and sugars and things. In fact, there's even pathogens that can eat nitrogen, which is protein, and bodybuilders eat a lot of protein. So
Yeah.
you starve that stuff out to an extent, if you eat no carbs but again, you're also going to basically starve all of your good commensal bacteria much faster than you're going to be able to starve out any of the bad stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, you get a little bit of symptom relief temporarily from doing extreme things, ketogenic diets, carnivore diets, elimination diets, low FODMAP. Yeah, you might feel a little better for
Mm-hmm.
a little while because there's less fermentation of bacteria. So you have like less gas production going on. So you might notice some improvements, but over time, that diversity gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And then you start having more symptoms. And then when you try to add stuff back in or go out and have a free meal or do all this other shit, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't eat anything.
Mm-hmm.
All that I can basically eat is chicken, rice, and I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean? Like you just get
Yeah.
you get so narrowed down. And then if you do that long enough, even those foods you won't tolerate eventually if you do it long enough. And I
Mm-hmm.
run into people with that. I can give you kind of a scenario. They'll come in and they've narrowed it down, man. They've dwindled it down to just bare bones. They're like, this is literally all I can eat without just crapping my pants.
Yeah.
In order to add diversity back into their diet, you can't just put everything in all at once. They will be a bloated mess. They're like, dude, I can't eat a banana. I can't even eat a banana. I'll just blow up. So in a nutshell, I mean, you essentially have to titrate things in kind of slowly and strategically, and you'll be able to repopulate the good bacteria if you have things, prebiotic fibers and polyphenols and butyrate sources and this stuff, like having diverse foods. You just have to do little bits and you have to go kind of slow. And you kind of have to just work your way up over time to be able to add it back in. Yes, supplements can help some as well. That's probably the biggest thing for bodybuilders is just diversifying their diet. And if you think you can't, just do it slower. Seriously, I know it
Yeah.
sounds weird.
Instead of adding so much like fruit, so much veggie at
Yeah.
once, and then your stomach just blows up. Like add
Yeah.
like 50 grams at like 2 meals, and then
20
like
grams even. I mean, sometimes
yeah,
if you
just
have to go that low.
yeah, just
Yeah. So
slowly
that's
titrate it in.
That's one. That's probably the biggest if we're talking specifically bodybuilders, just because again, they tend to just are pretty repetitive, which is fine. It's helpful. It makes life easier. But um the other thing, and I know everyone can like roll their eyes, but this, I don't know if this is immediately applicable, but I'll give you something that you can test. If you speculate that some of your digestive issues are stress related, which nobody wants to admit that they are,
Mm-hmm.
but they probably are. If you think they might be, something you can do to gauge that is understand or monitor. I don't want to say monitor because you're fixating, but see what your symptoms are like in different situations. So, for example, I get a new client. They have just any array. Maybe they're like constipated. They have diarrhea. I don't know, whatever it is. Doesn't really matter. Then all week, symptom, symptom, symptom. And then they're like, next week, I got to go on vacation or I have a trip for whatever. Symptoms gone
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
50% reduction or literally any improvement at all. Because what's happening? Well, on the trip, what are they doing? They're not following their plan entirely. So, like, they're not even eating as good. They've they've got other stuff. Yeah, maybe the travel and lack of sleep could be problematic, but you see that type of thing, or even one meal, they go out to eat with their boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, friends, whatever, and they like eat something off plan and they feel, dude, my bowel movement the next day was just great. Like because you
Mm-hmm.
chilled out and you had a
Yeah.
good time and you weren't anxious and you weren't stressing about anything. So
Mm-hmm.
what is that? So again, you can really test that out and understand that in so many different scenarios. Like basically anything where you're having fun and you're outside your routine
Mm-hmm.
could be a potential way to gauge that theory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's like go out, have a good meal with your friends, and then if you know that stress is lowered, and then your digestion improves, it's like, oh, that's the issue. My stress is fucking everything up. That makes sense.
Assuming you're not going out and having like 12 beers and eating like a whole large pizza. Like
Yeah,
you got to
right.
use like we got to have a middle ground here. That's not going to help
Yeah,
anyone.
within reason. Yeah, yeah, within reason.
But those are a couple of very applicable things. And in fact, that type of stuff is, yes, it's not cut and dry. It can be kind of complex to figure out, to really pull that out of people. But that's probably more important than getting testing done and getting into GI maps and all that other stuff. Like, yeah, I do that stuff a lot, but ultimately none of that, if I do it, but we don't have any foundations in place, like what am I going to do with that information once I get it?
Mm-hmm. That
Right.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there are so many that could be with anything in health and fitness. There are so many like foundational things that you can check off before going into like super extensive GI maps or like super specific workout routines or diets. Is like, let's get a couple of these like key things right first, and then most of the time your issue, whatever that may be, is probably going to improve. It's like, let's not get too deep into the weeds yet. And speaking of getting deep into the weeds, what are some things with gut health and digestion that you see a lot nowadays that are just overhyped or like pushed onto people way too much that like don't really matter at all?
Okay. So if frame that question as things that people do often that probably don't help, shoot, I would say one things that I see people do. One, okay, here's a great one that don't matter that much. So I'm drinking something with artificial sweetener in it right now. There you go. There's one.
Those are good. Those are good.
Yeah. Well, and again, is there a dose? Is there a dose response? Probably. Yes.
Mm.
Like, do we know that certain things affect your microbiome? We do. Everything affects your microbiome. Everything. Like me breathing this breath has an effect on that. Anything will affect it. So what's the point of me saying that? Well, the point is that if you were to what's the takeaway message would be that it's very rare that any of these minutia on their own is a driver for your gut health issue. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
now cumulatively, if you're pounding down a 12-pack of Diet Coke every day, and you're taking in 1,000 milligrams of caffeine every day, and you're sucking down like 3 vape pens every day, and I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, add any little minutia thing in there.
Right.
Sure.
Correct.
Cumulatively, that's problematic. But I think where it becomes an issue is that they will go to great lengths and stress themselves out so bad to avoid everything at all costs. That's where we run into issues, because what that does is creates fear. And what does fear do? Well, fear does two things. Fear makes you more stressed than you already were in the first place, which is probably bad because you're probably already pretty damn stressed. And two, it makes it very, very difficult to ever reintroduce or have anything in moderation added back into your life. Diet, the first time I realized that was with nutrition. So what I saw, because I did this, what I saw is that when I put people on things like very restrictive low FODMAP diets and things like that, which I'm not saying you should never do, but what I saw statistically is that those people had continued food fear, that they were afraid to add things back into their diet later because they associated that with symptom relief, right? So it's like we see it with bodybuilding. I'm afraid to stop doing all the cardio, and I'm afraid to like stop after a cut or a prep or something. I'm afraid to add food back in. And what do? Well, they fuck themselves up because they try to stay lean and just keep beating themselves to death. But they're afraid to do it because they're afraid that they're going to like get super fat or something. I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with gut health, there's so many things that people say that are just dude, we're talking, you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like, dude, does it matter? Maybe, but
Yeah.
like we're really, really getting down to just this shit that's almost never going to really move the needle for most people. There are again, high enough amounts, or if someone's like, yeah, I don't really like Diet Coke anyhow. I'm like, okay, cool. Don't drink it. Or they tell me, I'm taking in 1,000 milligrams of caffeine every day. I'm like, oh yeah, that's
now we're getting into weird territory.
That's too much. But this thing that this being afraid of everything, dude, the internet's crazy. Health industry on the internet is wild. Everything is bad. Everything. Or if you ask the right person, it's good. But if you ask the other person, it's bad. Right? It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So
health advice on the internet is crazy. Like,
it's like, when am I gonna die? Like today? Tomorrow?
Yes, for real, because like what gets the views is like, this diet soda is what's killing you, and it's like it's not though, because like you said, you can't say it doesn't matter, because yes,
I never said that, right? It's just
exactly
yeah.
In the right scenario, yes, it's probably too much. Like you said, if you're drinking a 12-pack caffeine, vape pens, this and that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna
sure.
add up, but it's
For
like
sure.
this one little Sprite or Sprite Zero I'm drinking is not gonna kill me. And it's like people they'll post on their social media, yeah, I do all this stuff and I don't drink any diet sodas. Well, let's look at the rest of your day. There are probably things that you're doing that you think are like good for you that if we like what am I trying to say? Like that diet soda that if you did drink that wouldn't make that big of an impact. It's not gonna make that big of an impact. You have all these other things that you already don't have in line. It's like this reason you don't drink diet soda is not the reason that you're gonna live to your
Right.
150 years old. It's like you have so many things that you could fix. It's like I don't know. That's one big thing I see people like. I'll post like a diet soda or something. They're like, that has like aspartame in it and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but I eat like a very clean variety of food. I don't think that one thing is going to
Right.
destroy my stomach. I promise you, it's not.
Yeah. And again, that can be applied to a lot of just small things but what does that go back to? It goes back to what I said at the beginning where everyone's looking for the thing. What is the
Yeah,
thing that will get me there? And I'm here to tell you that there's probably not a thing. And
no,
by searching for the thing forever, you are probably making the issue worse because you are being insanely neurotic and hyperfixating and you can't stop thinking about it. And if you
yeah,
do hire a coach, the best thing you can do is let the coach think and
just yeah,
go
I
on
agree.
with your life. I said this to
Yeah,
somebody today too, one of the coaches I was work with, and she's like, I gotta write this down. I told her, thinking about something more doesn't make it work any better.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
dude,
That's a great point. That's a
guilty
great
of
point.
that. Bodybuilders are bodybuilders, fitness people are some of the most guilty when it comes to that is just fixation, fixation, fixation. And let me tell you what, if there is anything that's very damaging to pretty much everyone, it's that. That is
Yeah,
damaging to basically everyone. Doing so it's a fine line, right? Research, wanting to find the answers, wanting to get better, but not
hmm,
going over the edge, that's tough. And if you can't do it yourself, if you can't objectively do it, hire someone to do it. That's fine.
yeah.
And that's not a
Have
plug.
someone
That's
think
just
for you.
saying it's the same with me, man. I'm not good at there's things I hire people to do because I just don't really know how to do them, like my taxes or I don't know,
Right. Yeah,
just services, other things. I would
yeah.
drive myself nuts trying to figure it out. I just can't. And then I might still do it wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think fixated on like outcomes and whatever may be is it can be a detriment. For sure, like I was pulled up my little notebook that I wrote, and it's like if you like the quote here, it kind of relates to that. If you cling to your life, you'll lose it, but if you give it up for others, you'll find it. As kind of thinking about like if you focus on your outcome, that's all you think about, you'll probably never get it. But if you just like focus on the process and the things that go into that more, that outcome will eventually just be a byproduct of what you're doing essentially, and just fixated on like your physique or amount of money that you want or whatever it may be. It always kind of leads to a dead end. I feel like, but I know you
Yeah.
talked about there a few times the end all be all, like people trying to find nowadays what's the one thing I can get 1% better, what's going to put me ahead of the competition. And that kind of made me think about like the whole peptide trend, that I know that peptides have been around for a long time. I know you've been in this space for a while. I'm sure you've been seeing stuff about this stuff that's super popular right now for years now. So what is your take on that? Because I've seen like there's a kid that's like I think 15 in the gym talked to one of my clients about some peptides, and I'm like 15, like 15. It just scares me. So like, what is your thoughts on this? Maybe just kind of give me like a what's spark notes of like the peptide blow up recently.
Yeah, that's funny. So peptides are I've had a couple instances like that. You think about some of the popular stuff revolving around cellular function, mitochondrial function. 15-year-old, hopefully you don't have any issues with cellular function at that point. In fact,
Yeah,
you're developing,
yeah,
but that's kind of beside the point. And peptides are, they're essentially most of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are signaling molecules, so they're kind of telling the body to perform an action probably at a higher the theory is that not all but a lot of the peptides we take are endogenously occurring, we make them to some degree, so if we take more of it, it will have a greater effect whatever that thing does, right? I think one of the issues, well, there's a couple. One of the issues is our body has safety mechanisms and feedback loops and has on-off switches, epigenetics. Like there's a lot of things that will halt feedback loops. So if you take something, you can't just drive one mechanism in a direction forever without any of the surrounding stuff being affected. First off.
Okay, that makes sense.
Think of anything that does that. But like anabolics is a great one because that drives a ton of signaling, right? For certain muscle growth mechanisms, but they have side effects. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And if you take more of them, what happens? They actually work better up until the point that the side effects probably outweigh the benefits, right?
Right, yeah, that makes
So
sense.
peptides are cool. I think they have a lot of utility. I think there are plenty of them that will stay and that will continue to be useful. The healing peptides and things have been around for a long time. BPC, some of the newer ones like KPV and GHK came in a little bit later. A lot of the healing peptides have been around a long time. I think they have good utility with injuries, maybe even gut health in some cases, overall tissue healing, even like some of them now, even like cardiac remodeling and helping renal function and stuff that bodybuilders deal with. The
Mhm.
the ones that are super, super hyped, obviously, I mean, some of those are hyped, but the mitochondrial peptides, the fat loss that are maybe like more fat loss
Yeah.
based and stuff, that's what's super, super hot right now. And that's also why the FDA is getting in on some of that stuff, probably because there's probably money
Right.
to be made there. And so they're going to
Yeah.
regulate it more. So I think that like most things, they have utility. And when people ask me about this stuff, my default is almost always like in the right context, they're useful. And I'm not we'll put it this way. Anyone that says something's best or worst, I would not listen to that person
I agree.
99% of the time.
I
Just
completely agree.
there's always context, man. Like anything.
Yeah.
Dietary approaches, training approaches, high volume is always the best. Low volume is always the best. No. What about if this person has 30 minutes so they have to go to the gym? Still, is high volume still the best? No.
Yeah. That's such a good point. That's
No.
the best point probably from the whole. That's the best point from any podcast I've done is that the context will always matter because like people tell me like they'll come to the
Everything.
gym. What's the best diet? I'm like I like stutter. I don't know how to tell you that because like the best diet for me is not gonna be the same one for you because like oh I don't train until 3 p.m. You have to train when you wake up. The same diet that I'm running is not gonna work for you. I have 2 hours in the gym. You have 45 minutes. Okay, we're gonna use supersets, drop sets, shit like that with you. With me, I can take my sweet time and do whatever. So it's like the
Yeah.
same thing with this peptide thing. I think the only issue I see with it is like kids that like want the easy way out, want like a fast track to their progress when it's like you haven't even trained in the gym for 5 years and you can't follow a fucking diet.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are we even doing? Like,
The
so it's like, yeah,
best case scenario, they get a little bit of results, probably won't get much. But
hmm,
worst case scenario, one of the things I get concerned about too is these things have side effects still. They can.
yeah,
Some of these things, some of the mitochondrial peptides could have some downsides if you're taking a system that's not functioning very well and you're cranking it up to 100. Your body has to deal with these malfunctioning and dead cells and stuff. It's got to be able to clean that up. There are names for these
yeah,
processes. We don't have to go into all that,
yeah,
but there's
yeah,
there could be side effects there. I mean, GLPs, dude, we've seen tons of side effects there. There has been
yeah,
people with massive, massive issues that are hospitalizing them. Now, can they be used safely? Yeah,
hmm,
pretty safely.
hmm,
Do they have some pretty amazing, profound effects? Yep, for sure. Does everyone, are they the best thing ever? I don't know the context, so I don't really know.
yeah,
But
right, yeah,
but again, not all peptides, because some of them I don't think could even be taken in human equivalent doses. You couldn't even afford to do it. Like it's not even feasible to do it. I think cost is a prohibiting factor for a lot of people to actually be able to like build out an effective peptide stack. Can they
yeah,
add some little things here and there? A little bit of BPC or some GHK. Maybe they want to
yeah,
work on like one specific thing or some retatrutide or something. Yeah, but to build out these people online, if you have this, do this. If you have this, do this. I'm like, dude, that's a $1,500 a month stack you just dropped in your video.
bro.
Who's doing that?
Yes, I don't know. I have seen, and it's only the people
Nobody's
that
doing that.
promote that. The only people that promote that are, I mean, I wouldn't say the only, but 99.999% of the people that are going to promote that are the ones getting those peptides for free, for discounts. I get that.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to, the people that post that kind of shit, it's like they're not thinking about the guy watching the video that's like working a 9 to 5 job that has like a couple $100 to spend on some health supplements. It's like all these, I've
Yeah.
gone to some like, sites or whatever. Like I work with a company myself, and it's like some of the stuff is like, this is expensive. And like when they're making these videos, like, yeah, so this is my mitochondrial stack, and it's like 15 things long. I'm like, that is like my monthly paycheck in
Yep.
a peptide stack. So
Yep.
it's like,
Yep.
what are we doing? I don't know. How much
And
longer do you
people
have?
and people argue with me, and they'll say, well, just go direct to the Chinese supplier. I'm like, dude, regular gym rat Joe is not getting
Not gonna do that.
UGL peptides, nor does he know how, nor is it even that important. So you guys are
Yeah.
being completely unrealistic with
Yeah, yeah.
it's crazy.
I do see application for like the TV and the BPCs of the world
Yeah, a
for
lot of stuff
most
has
things.
application.
Like that stuff's cool, and I think all of this stuff is really interesting. But
Sure.
what's scary, and like the last thing I'll talk about on the peptides, is like the only scary part I see of it is like there's no long term data on it. It's like this, a lot of this stuff that hasn't had like the time to like work around the system, have trials ran on them, and then get a result out of it. Like this could be possible side effects. Like part of the whole
Some of them,
peptides,
yeah.
the whole peptide world that kind of scares me. It's like there's not a lot of like human data. There could be like rat trials or whatever, but it's like just some of it's cool, some of it's scary. But like coming back to the nutrition, the diet thing, it's context. It's the context that really matters.
Yeah, you're right. And most well over 50%, we'll just say the majority of these things aren't FDA approved. They don't have enough clinical trials. They haven't been really tested on humans to a significant degree. You're
Yeah,
gambling.
yeah,
Is there
yeah,
anything bad going to happen? I'm going to assume probably not.
yeah.
I think probably not, because I think most people will just give up taking them and just won't. They're like, a lot of it will just like fade out of
Yeah,
their repertoire slowly because they spent a shitload of money and didn't get much ROI on it.
that's a good point. I didn't think about
But
that. Yeah,
somebody's going to get hurt, and there's
that
already been
that's
some
a good
people
point.
that have gotten hurt. And
Yeah,
when you think more is better, I mean, these are people of
you'll do whatever.
excess.
Yeah,
Something's going to
you'll do
happen to
whatever.
someone.
Yeah, for sure. How much longer do you have? I don't want to keep you any longer than you need to be.
Couple minutes. I got to
Couple
go
minutes. Nice.
soon.
I'll wrap this up with the. I always wrap my podcast up with one question. It's a little bit of deep one. So Austin, whenever your time is up, how do you want to be remembered? Whether it be as a coach, a bodybuilder, a friend, or whatever. How do you want to be remembered as a person?
If I were to say one thing, I hope that I can be remembered as a decent person, just being a good person overall. I don't know if that pertains to having a certain impact on people. I know
Mm,
some people, some of the things I do are have a huge bearing on people's life and their quality of life and stuff. So I understand the significance of that. It'd be really
yeah,
cool to be remembered as he helped all these people, But
yeah,
ultimately, I think that I would like to just be remembered as a good person overall, whatever that means. I guess
yeah. I like that.
definition of that probably varies
Just,
from
just be a good person.
place to place.
I think that's a great way to put it. I definitely think with the amount of people you've worked with, you've definitely changed a bunch of lives. I definitely do think that you'll be remembered as that good person. But man, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you've had like a crazy ass day, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on the podcast, man. It's been great talking to you, and
Thank you.
yeah, I guess that's really it. I'll wrap all this up and I'll edit whatever. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. I hope you have a great rest of your day, bro.
Yeah, for sure. You feel free to tag me and I'll share and do all that stuff if you
Yep,
have
I'll
any.
shoot you a link whenever this goes live. I'll probably upload this if I can get it edited by like tomorrow or whatever. So I'll shoot it to you.
Cool. Yeah, whenever. I'll be happy to help out. So
All right, bro. I appreciate it.
awesome, brother. Thank you.
All right,
Take it
see you,
easy.
man.